Not really. I mean, it's more of like, why bother anymore?
Mm.
Different PEMDARs have come forward and said, we have this ability. Why not incorporate it?
Is that your hierarchy?
Actually, it's similar to a president.
Do you have like, obviously, is it set up the way we have? Do you have presidents and kings or
No, we just have one person we answer to. It's the PEMDAR,
pin dog, right?
and he is or she is burdened with the responsibility of law for infrastructure, movement, and they're just randomly selected from the population.
Right, right. And obviously they're on Earth, are they? Or is there do you know anything about the inner Earth or anything like that? Is that actual true?
The Earth is not completely hollow.
Yeah,
We mirror the cities just like you do on the surface.
right.
Where cenotes or sinkholes have, appeared in different parts of the world, those tunnels have long since been abandoned, so there's no need of worry there.
Right, right. And are we in danger or are we all coexisting? Is it?
We've been coexisting since before your species actually came down from the trees.
Well, like you say, if you can give us a bit of a history lesson of,
I actually wrote down some notes just so
yeah.
I wouldn't get tangled. I'm not the best public speaker, as well, you obviously know. So, what would you like to know? Origins?
Yeah, obviously, do you descend from dinosaurs? Is that true?
Yes.
Yes, yes. And can we ask, did you go in the Earth when there was a cataclysm? Or in a cavern?
Actually,
Did you escape the cataclysm?
the cataclysm, that's a whole different subject.
Right,
It's not what you think it is. There
right.
was no there was no meteor.
Mhm.
There was no I mean, yes, meteors do hit the earth. I mean, look at Tunguska. It's no different.
Yeah,
However, it's not possible for it to wipe out an entire, planet of life.
yeah, yeah.
If that were the case, none of us would be here.
Right, right. So it just like you say, you did you mix with Earthlings or humans? And what do you call yourself? It's Sumerians, isn't it? What is it you like to call yourselves? Sumar?
Saurians.
Saurians, sorry, that was it. Saurians. To clear a few things up, do you actually feed off humans? Is that true?
No.
No, no, that's just a myth.
Yeah.
Do you
We eat meat and vegetables just like you.
so you don't live off human blood and
No.
virgins and stuff like that, as they say.
No.
No, I'm just clearing it up so everyone
Oh, I
understands, you know.
understand.
Um,
We're not demons. We can't fly.
right, right,
We're not trying to take over the world. Well, like I said, there's been a few Saurian interviews,
yeah,
but not a lot of us, just because of all the skepticism and the fear. We base our interviews on, who's ready to hear and who's ready to accept, that the hominid or the human is not the pinnacle of existence.
yeah. Also, can you shapeshift? Is that a myth or is that
Um,
possible?
Full Saurians can,
Oh,
and it's
sorry,
through mimicry.
right. And how does that work, if you don't mind?
Chromatophores.
Right. And who were they? Sorry.
So chromatophores, they're in your skin too.
Right, right. Okay, I didn't know.
When you go out in the sun, you get tan, correct?
Yes.
That's your melanin.
Yeah.
And those cells expand and create color.
So
It's
you,
no different from us.
right, right. So you can do it like a chameleon effect and activate that whenever you'd like.
Yes,
Right. Oh, right. That's like an octopus sort of thing.
kind of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you control the leaders in the countries?
Absolutely not.
No.
No, we don't. We do have influence, though.
Yeah. So
Yep, just like you can go to, you know, your politicians or your senators and say, hey, I feel like there should be, better streets or better water. We can do the same.
and can you tell us anyone who is a reptilian? Is there anyone in power? Is Trump a Saurian or
No, he's not.
no? But is Hillary?
No. However, people close to them are.
Right. So they're just the face of it, and people behind them. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, Did you like wipe yourself from history? Did you destroy all the statues and art that was
No, everything's been moved underground to our cities.
just to hide it from the humans?
Yes, because I mean, look what's happening in Egypt.
Yeah.
ISIS is destroying historical statues that, resemble not only us, but, other beings as well.
So
And
why?
they're trying to wipe history.
So is that have ISIS on the side of the reptilians? Tribes
Well,
of the lost tribes of
13
Israel?
tribe, yeah, the lost tribes of Israel, 13 tribes of Israel, they're actually, long-standing and long aware of our presence. However, they are one to themselves.
Right. So do they live in the hollow earth or
No,
in caverns? No, no, they're still on Earth.
they're still on Earth.
Right, right. Um,
I would suggest you look up in the mountainous areas. Well, it's not so much as hiding as a meeting place that's pretty much neutral ground.
right, right.
In the uppermost chambers, you have places where we can go and meet with politicians, meet with presidents, and discuss, our concerns as well, because this is a place we do share.
Yeah. Do you get special treatment in civilization then, or are you treated as everyone else?
I'm a face value. I'm just a normal person
So
doing normal
you
things.
have to get a job and you're not given money or anything like that off them?
Nope.
No, no. How do you find a partner and all that? Do you have to find a reptilian, one of your own kind, or do you have to find a human, or can you mate with anyone?
As a hybrid, I can mate with anyone.
Right, right,
However, I chose, my mate 17, 18 years ago.
right. So
And
how come you don't look like the typical um, green, scaly skin and all that, if you don't mind me asking?
well, I do have the eyes.
Right,
However, I took more after my mother.
right. So it's just, can you be born like half scaly and half not? And can you have
Yes.
deformities?
No, not really deformities, because you're integrating your genetic code with a broader spectrum of genomes.
Yeah,
So there's less chances for, misshapen limbs or whatnot.
yeah, like you say.
But one thing that does carry through is the negative blood types.
Right.
And unfortunately, if I ever needed a kidney or a liver or whatnot, I would have to find another saurian to get one from.
So is it true that you're all rhesus negative?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And anybody that does carry the negative blood type does carry a trace of reptilian DNA.
Right. Mind reading abilities.
Yeah, gleaning.
Gleaning, sorry, that was it. Can you tell us about that, please?
Basically, the eyes are the windows of the soul. Um, I'm not trying to sound derogatory, so please don't take it this way.
It's okay.
But you, for example, you were designed to be an open book.
Hmm.
You are a genetically engineered species. This is our planet of origin.
Right.
We do have other colonies.
Yeah.
However, you know, when the Elohim came and sped up your evolution,
Who's that? Sorry, just stop there. Who was that?
the Elohim, you refer to them as the Nephilim?
Nephilim, yeah, yeah. So that's not you then? That's not you. I thought that was you.
No.
No, right, right. So who was that? Who was that?
Well, the Nephilim,
Yeah.
they're actually another species. I'll get into that later.
Right, okay, yeah.
But, you were designed with specific flaws,
Hmm.
basically so you could be easily controlled. And that was not our design. That was them. Um, in that, I don't even know how to try to explain it without being upset, but we walked amongst your oldest tribes,
Hmm.
the Japanese, the Chinese, South America, Egypt,
Hmm.
all of, you can look in there and see that we're incorporated into the temples, we're incorporated into the history,
Yeah.
not only as gods, but also companions, friends. But it wasn't until, in England and in the Americas especially, that we were vilified by, the great serpent, which is incorrect.
Like George and the Dragon and all that sort of thing.
Correct,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And the serpent people and
You know, and
Like the
because it
devil.
was
Is that the devil? Are you supposed to be the devil?
in some books, yes, we
Right.
are, but
Yeah.
it's not true.
But
You know,
obviously,
we
there's good
are.
and bad in everyone, isn't there? There's. Yeah. So can I just ask? You said it was England and America that started to vilify you. Is that
Mhm.
true? Can I ask
Yes.
why that was? Was they just scared of how many numbers you
Well,
were getting?
it actually started in the Holy Roman Church,
Right.
and they did not want to negotiate or talk with us.
Okay.
And we were, you know, it took the power away from them, I believe, and they felt threatened and basically personified as us as evil.
So do you think as the church is your enemy?
No.
No. Is everything sorted now? Is that?
Well, it's not just sorted, it's just you need to educate.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm here to do.
Mhm. That's it. Yeah. If you can tell us more, that's fine. That's great. Tell us.
Um, well, well, I could start with the origin story if you like.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But it's a bit long-winded, so I do apologize in advance.
Don't worry, people will love it. People will love it.
Okay. Around 65 million years ago, our ancestors from the dinosaurs died in a great war. Hominids have explained this as an asteroid hitting Terra. This is what we call Earth.
Hmm.
However, this is incorrect. An asteroid did hit, however, it did not end life, or none of us would be here. Tunguska is an example. According to our histories, there are two alien groups, and they're still in a Cold War state. The names of these races are non-pronounceable for me. One race is humanoid, much like hominids today. Other species we do not know much was a reptilian species, but they're not related to us, or pterosaurians as well. Their origins are not of this universe, but another plane. You view the universe as a giant hollow sphere. It's more like a book with pages. Each page is a dimension. Some alien species can travel between those pages where others cannot. We have built colonies in what is Antarctica today and lived together with hominids without issue. Two races arrived here, and they were only interested in resources, especially the copper. Everyone values gold, but you will come to learn that copper is much more valuable, especially in the near future. Everyone values gold, but again, once you realize the true value of copper, it's gonna blow your mind. It's primarily used in the creation of electromagnetic fields, which allow us the power of flight without propulsion.
Anti-gravity.
Hmm. Both species were fighting for copper during this fight, and the fusion bomb was released. It was detonated in the ocean in the area of the Gulf of Mexico. However, when the weapon was released, it produced an unpredictable reaction with the water, and it was much stronger than anticipated. One of the byproducts was iridium. So scientists now realize, oh, iridium, was a product of an asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. No, it was actually a side effect of the bomb, kind of a fallout.
Right.
After that, they pretty much lost interest and left us alone. So, over the next 20 million years, we reclaimed the surface, but our infrastructure was so developed underground, we only came to the surface to forage for food and for farming. 50 million years after the war began, we began manipulating surface species. That's where hybrids became a part of the subspecies of saurians. 10 million years ago, small simians began to venture out, but they evolved very slow, as the normal way of things. About 1.5 million years ago, another alien species arrived, and lost my place. You'd be surprised how many species there actually are. They found simians were interesting, so they modified them. They began to play with their genetic code. Our presence was already founded at this point, but the Logim decided to play with you guys instead. You were to be served as future slave soldiers in a future war. Mammals evolved over 150 million years, but only in the last 2 to 3 million years, you became intelligent enough to create civilizations, and you believe you are the apex of your world. Accelerated evolution is not natural. Humans were designed without mechanisms of protection in their subconscious, which is naturally occurring in us. You can be aware someone is trying to manipulate your mind, however, there is nothing you can really do about it. The only side effect you get is an overwhelming sense of suspicion. To avoid this, to avoid being read, you can just flood your mind with just random thoughts like flowers and what you ordered for lunch and just random junk. However, stronger people or stronger saurians or stronger hybrids can easily see through this. It'll be just like throwing a pebble into a stream and watching the mud come up. That mud is your latent memories. It just takes a little bit more time.
Okay.
Well,
So,
that's a brief history.
wow, that's fast. That's amazing. So, what's your plan? Are you trying to take over? Are we living coexisting now? Is that the plan? To all
Yeah,
coexist?
we don't want to see our natural resources go away.
Right. So you want to protect the
No,
planet as well?
yes, think of us as conservationists.
Right. Yeah.
However, there are 14 different species that interact with our planet.
Right.
3 of those are considered very hostile.
Right. Is that the greys as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's one of them.
Right. Are they
Um,
your enemies as well, the greys?
yes,
Right.
the Greys are working with, several of your governments.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think I've heard that before, Yeah.
Yeah, and they're trading technology for copper.
Right.
And
Right.
they're also interested in basically the hydrogen in our water as well.
Right.
We do share technology to a degree.
Yeah.
However, a lot of our technology is incompatible, but it's estimated around 2019 we should be able to incorporate ours with yours.
All right. Right. And also Atlantis, was that? Do you know anything about Atlantis?
Atlantis was actually a legit place.
Yeah.
It was just east of just east of the Bermuda Triangle.
Right. Wow.
However, they were experimenting with fusion and copper generation. I can go into, the mathematics of that if you like.
No, you're all right. You're okay.
Do you know the states of matter?
Mm, no. Do you mean solid, liquid, and everything like that? Gas?
Hmm. There's
Um,
2 more.
no, that's it. Light, I don't know. Is that?
Oh, plasma and post-plasma.
Sorry, no, I didn't know them too.
Well, I won't go into the 5th because it's a little heavy.
Right.
So we'll talk about the 4th. Well, plasma is the special form that exists between physical existence and the sphere of influence. Your military has been experimenting with the tech for a while, but passes the information to your public as extraterrestrial origins.
Okay.
Especially triangular ships. That's not us. That's not anybody. No one. That would be the equivalent of you driving a heart-shaped car around.
Mhm.
It's just not aerodynamic. It's no.
Yeah.
Um, Once you figure out how to avoid the instability with the containment field and the radiation, it won't be a problem. All this can be avoided by using the fluctuation at the right angle with the radiation field. Here, matter is fused. But because of the lack of containment, you continue to move the plasma into a higher functioning condition, and that causes, radiation poisoning.
Right.
It resembles closely to a gravitational shift as the poles will reverse if done correctly. The shift now allows the flow around the outside of the field instead of the interior. This allows movements of massive objects. This is not unlike the way the pyramids were constructed when we worked in tandem with your ancient tribes.
So you built the pyramids?
We helped.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Corresponded with constellations in the sky, believing, with those ancient tribes, they wanted to, develop their astronomy. They wanted to know, where are your planets located? Where are your colonies? And we directed them and said, you can do here, 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 and
Yeah.
that's what they did.
So
Now, I
like,
wasn't alive then, so I can't really
yeah.
vouch for that.
No, yeah, I understand. It's like you asking me every human history. I don't have a clue. Um,
Well, the biggest thing is everything has an energy information equivalent.
yeah,
So if you're here on this physical realm, on the paralayer, you also exist, but you exist as pure energy.
yeah,
Different species can I would say transmogrify, but let's say they can step between the two and not have any consequences. Whereas if you were to go to the paralayer, your physical body would be destroyed.
right. Is that anything
So,
to do with the third eye? With
no, that's
the
more on the
pineal
spiritual.
gland? Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, the pineal gland,
Yeah, the
yes.
pineal gland. Yeah.
Um, just like you, we have 2 parties as well that help, talk about things and to rectify problems. But our parties don't fight; they work in tandem with another.
Yeah. Well, you've been around longer than us, so you've obviously matured more, aren't you?
Well, in your age, I'm 36.
Right, and how old are you in your age?
Uh, uh, 38,276 cycles.
Is that years? The
No,
cycle.
no, we base, because everything's underground, we base our age off of the different shifts in the magnetic fields.
Right. Wow.
I've reached the age of enlightenment.
Right, okay.
Um, I
And
did print
do
out,
you have religions among
yes,
different
actually,
religions? Are the Earth
this,
like the Earth?
it, this is our religious symbol.
Right.
The colors have special meaning for us. Well, if you look at your wrist and you flex your knuckles towards you,
Yeah.
you're going to see tendons. Those are called your uh, palmar flexor tendons.
Yeah.
And that is a remnant of your ancestors that would brachiate through trees. I lack those.
Oh
I
yeah.
have none.
Yeah. No way.
And this is our scientific group.
Right. And what does that symbolize?
The dragon represents our people.
Yeah.
The blue field represents the universe.
Yeah.
And the 7 stars represent our 7 colonies.
And where are you? 7 colonies.
Well, we have Moon, Mars, Venus, the 4 moons of Jupiter, and Saturn.
Right.
2 of those are not in use to this day, so 5 stars would actually be more accurate.
And is there humans on the planets as well?
No.
No. So this is sort of like a mixing pot, Earth. Is this the only place we
Think of
make?
them as uh, think of them as observation stations.
Right. And do they look down on you because you're mixed with a human?
Actually, no. I'm actually one of the kind of envied because I can traverse between both.
And is there? Can I ask?
Like, I can be on camera and not have to worry about having to fool everyone about my appearance. You guys were just another species just out there in the world, no different than deer or, a possum.
Yeah.
And because we are genetically incompatible with the Elohim, your human genome was.
Right.
So when they began manipulating that, you guys began making societies, civilizations, been organizing. Used to be, fruit and nut gatherers. Now you're living in penthouses in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Your people came together in societies.
Right.
We then taught them how to cultivate water systems, aqueducts.
Yeah. So can I just ask? Obviously, if the Nephilim come down, this is something I've never understood. If the Nephilim came down and mixed their DNA, how come we get so many different races of human?
It's simple. It's evolution.
Right. So,
you would work if you lived in the middle of Africa. You would need darker skin, or you would get sun poisoning every single day and die.
Right. So what did the first human look like then?
Like monkeys.
Yeah. So that's
like Bigfoot.
So is it like Neanderthals and mixed with a Nephilim blood, or was it actual monkeys? Was it humanoid
actually,
sort of creatures?
The one you call Lucy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's something like that.
She was one of the first to experience to have that transition or that influx of new DNA, and through your females, you can actually pull that information through the mitochondrial DNA still in the cells. It goes all the way back to her.
Wow.
So she is your genetic mother.
So can you glean without being a reptilian or having reptilian genes?
Yes, it's capable of everyone. It's just a matter of opening your mind.
Can you teach that to people?
I can.
So,
but it might give you a migraine. Right. It involves a lot of concentration.
And can you tell people the name of your channel, so they can subscribe?
Reptilian Hybrid Housewife.
And they can subscribe and check you out. So is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I mean, on my channel, I talk about just stuff that as a Reptilian Hybrid Housewife would. Mm-hmm. I do post some reptilian things, and I just live my life, raise my children, and do what I'm supposed to do.
Good, good. Well, it's nice meeting you, and
You too.
hopefully we
And
can
I
have
didn't
you
mean to
on.
scare you.
It's okay, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And if you'd like to, we can have you on next month or something like that.
That'll be
See how it
fine.
goes. All right. All right then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. It's Mel, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mel. Thank
The biggest concern I had was the amount of negative feedback. Everything is in front of everyone. You finally approach someone who is in a position of power and say, why didn't you tell the people about this? Well, it's been out there for years. You just chose to ignore it, is going to be the answer.
Like you say, there was a lot of negative, but there was a lot of positive.
Well, I mean, you can't have good without the bad, or there would be no definition of true good.
That's it.
Fine.
Should we do a proper intro this time and explain who you are? And obviously, your name's Mel,
I live in North Carolina.
North Carolina. And can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I started out in the medical field. I went
Yes.
through college, all that fun stuff, just like you and I, or you and others would do.
Hmm.
Um, I met my mate. We got married and had children. We traveled the world, and now I'm back here in my home and just living life. And after seeing all the negative press about hybrid life, I felt like I needed to step in and say, look, this isn't right. You have, and I put up a video last night explaining how prejudice has gone through numerous generations in your species. You have a picture of a hook-nosed Jew or an African American with huge lips and chewing on a watermelon. Those images are regulated as racist and hateful and hurtful, but yet you can slap a reptilian saurian face on top of Miley Cyrus and it's perfectly fine. It's laughable. That is also something that people need to understand.
Partly because the government keep it from us, so people don't really understand the.
No, and that's a reason why a lot of reptilian, saurian, you know, Earth people, they will not disclose their hybrid life to the public just because of the backlash.
Do you not have as much power as we think you do?
No, I certainly do not know the answer to everything,
Yes.
and I cannot, you know, glean information that is, you know, that's just against the rules. You don't do that.
And who sets the rules? Is that your
And
PIMDAR? Yeah.
yes. Well, it's pretty much of an unspoken law. You don't take what is not readily given.
So do you have a strict moral guidelines in your religions?
Actually, it's not just religion, but as a society as a whole. There are, laws of life. Do not cause harm to another. Support one in its endeavors.
And
Share what you can.
yeah.
This has been perverted in, modern systems such as socialism, whereas only the uppermost people will reap the benefits of socialism, whereas the people who are giving in are suffering.
Yeah.
I can't say, hey, Andy, let's go out for pizza, and I reach in and grab your wallet and pay with your money. That is a watered down version of socialism. I'm going to feed all my friends with your money.
So can I just ask, your society, the Saurians, do they swing to the left or to the right, would you say, of politics?
Actually, there is no left or right. It is strictly centered.
Hmm.
It is based upon the good of the entire census. There is no winners or losers.
Do you get a lot of Saurians in Switzerland? Because it seems that way in Switzerland, where everyone has the right to vote on everything. So, do you get Do you get a lot of saurians in Switzerland?
You're touching on a lot of stuff, but I can direct you that the neutral ground countries have a higher percentage of saurian than hominid.
Did you mean I was getting too close to the truth?
Yes.
Okay, right. Uh, I'm sorry about that. I know.
No, no, it's just there's things that I'm allowed to talk about and some things that, are frowned upon.
And can I include this in the video?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Can I ask you about the Templars then? Because the Templars, I know a lot of the Templars went from when they was being persecuted, they escaped to Switzerland and started the banking as we know it now.
Yes.
So was the Templars anything to do with the Saurians?
Quite opposite. The Templars actually are based out of the I'm gonna try to remember the the Freemasons,
Yes.
and they're very much into their doctrine. When they left, they established the Knights Templar. They're the ones that hold, you know, knowledge, technologies, things like that that they don't want out into the mass population.
Right. Because there is a lot of Masons, isn't there? There's millions of them.
Oh yes, and their tools, especially if you notice, they encompass the shapes and the vibrations I was talking about in an earlier video. The circle, the triangle, and the bar.
Hmm.
And these can be represented by the sextant, the globe, and the level.
Can I also ask about the Scythians? Have you ever heard about the story of the Scythians, how they was came to be?
Yes, they were vilified in saying that they carried the blood of Cain.
Yeah, that's true. I've done a video on that myself. So it was actually the Greeks. I think it was Hercules
Mm-hmm.
that told the story of he had babies with a half snake, half human woman.
A naga.
Yeah. Um, Also, while we're on the subject of Naga, can you explain the different races, please?
Yes, of course. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while.
That's what I mean,
Yeah.
because people get confused with Alpha Draconians and Saurians, don't they? So, can you please explain that and what the difference is?
Okay, the Alpha Draconians are one of the three hostile races. They do not hybridize with hominids. They do not hybridize with other species. However, they do modify their own genetic code to have the ability to do things that normally they would regard they're too dirty for their own hands. They're a very pompous race. We talked about George and the Dragon, and just a light recap. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, there was a hybridized Alpha Draconian, and we would call those chameleons.
Right,
They still have a very outer appearance of a reptiloid species. However, they have no human traits whatsoever, nor do they have a moral compass. They are merely drones.
right. And
You know,
are they drawn through the parasitic aspect?
no.
But what do you mean by drone then? Are they just created in a lab with no feelings and
Well, there's no moral compass. There's no
so they just
thought
yeah,
process of, oh, this is wrong, or hey, maybe I should do this. It is strictly a survival mechanism.
okay. So the Saurians, how do they differ from the Alpha?
Well, the Saurians are Terra based, which means we originated on this planet. We care deeply about the goings on of this planet. We don't want to see our natural resources traded off for technology that will be used for ill will that could damage us both, hominid and saurian.
Okay. Yeah, because they were looking for something inner Earth, weren't they, the Nazis?
Mm-hmm.
Um, And did they find anything? Do you know if they found anything? Did they? Is that where they got all this technology from?
No. Um, von Braun, one of the Nazi scientists, actually developed one of the engines from an earlier time. Um, if you look at his reports, when the U.S. was actually interrogating him, like, where did you attain this knowledge? And he just simply smiled and said, from them.
So do you think this was maybe off drawings and cave drawings and stuff like that? And
No, I believe honestly it was, you know, direct conversation.
because I've heard the Nazis discovered anti-gravity from looking at the god Mercury. Because if you look at the god Mercury, he's holding a spiral with wings on his feet, and apparently that symbolised if you spin Mercury fast enough, then you'll get flight. And they found that just off looking at the god Mercury.
It is possible with acceleration chamber, but not nearly as effective as hydrogen and haven't polarized.
Alpha Draconians, do they come from the Serpus star cluster?
Sirius.
Is it Sirius they come from?
Yes.
Okay. And they arrived 2000 BC around that time?
I would like to say possibly. I would honestly say earlier,
Okay.
depending
Okay.
on the timeline.
And have you ever heard of the gate or the portal Yog? Or Yog Sothoth?
Yes, Yog-Sothoth.
Yog Sothoth? Can you tell us about that, please?
Well, they're simply jump gates.
Yeah. Are they in outer space?
They are domiciled on heavenly bodies. There's no, if I were to throw you out of a door on a, 7-story building,
Yes.
you would meet your doom. You would die. There's no cushion, there's no, hospitable place for you to exit.
Is that a
So
threat?
these are dumb.
It's more of a spiritual thing.
No, quite opposite. It's quite physical.
Is this the sort? Is this the dial what you see on the Sumerian arm in the on the tablets,
Yes, you would
like
see.
a watch?
Yeah, yep, you would see it depicted as either a circle with the bottom part removed.
Yes,
I'd say the bottom eight,
yes.
and each one of those runes have to activate before the portal is met, and it has to be in sync with the destination.
And is this something you know how to do?
Myself, no, I am not an engineer.
And did you say runes? Does that mean Viking runes?
There is, yes, there is a direct correlation with that.
And are the Viking runes more powerful than we think?
They are.
Do they have spells and magic?
Well, not so much as spells and magic, just coordinations. There is no magic. It's only science that you have not yet understood. I mean, if you were to go up to one of these gates, there are coated in a hydrophilic polymer. This allows the ionization process to begin, to allow passage.
Okay. And do you know where these passages are?
Where or how?
Where?
Hmm.
Can you tell us?
Oh, where?
Yeah.
Oh, oh, there are. Let's see if I can do this without getting into trouble. Look at your monuments.
In which country?
All. Have you ever wondered why there's pyramids in every single ancient civilization
Yes, I
with
have.
all the same designs?
Yes.
People who never contact, they all have these same designs. that is not natural.
Gates then.
Some, yes, internally. Uh, they're usually down in the lowermost chambers of those.
Wow. And do you know anything about the tablets of Toth? The emerald tablets of Toth? Or
I
Thoth?
honestly have not, yep, thought. I
Yeah.
have not studied his tablets, however. I do have some books that I can go get if you like.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say because apparently he says there's a spaceship buried underneath the Giza pyramid, and
Oh, there's several.
there's several. Is
Yes, you
it?
can look out into the ocean just off the coast of Japan and see one of the largest.
By the way, all this information is this taught to you, or do you learn this yourself?
Well, information is not necessarily learned, it's shared.
So do you share this through gleaning?
Gleaning, social interaction, and the such, yes.
And is it true you can access all your ancestors' memories and stuff like that?
Yes.
Wow.
Consciousness can be passed down just as data can be passed from one computer to another.
So can I ask you about your parents? Is that okay?
Yes,
And which one is it that's the Saurian?
my father.
And his is he a pure Saurian or was he a hybrid?
He was also a hybrid.
Right. And his parents were they hybrids?
No,
Right. Were they?
his father was a full saurian.
Right. Right. And did you get to meet him?
Once.
Did that shock you?
No,
Did you know what to
he
expect?
just,
Had you met them before?
excuse me?
Had you met full Saurians before?
Not at that point in time, or
So,
prior to my knowledge.
but it didn't shock you seeing that, no.
No. Well, it's like don't make fun of Papa's skin condition.
Right. And
He always wore glasses.
did he work for the government or anything like that?
He was actually a part of the Navy.
Right. Okay. Sorry, the Lacerta transcripts. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because people on our channel was saying that you're just copying what they're saying. I've never heard of it. I
Well,
mean,
Lacerta is a full saurian, and she gave her interview in '99.
okay.
She instructed the people that were giving the interview that were hosting not to take images. I mean, it's easy to present yourself, as a hominid, but to a camera, it's not very well or not very easily done. And no matter what the history is, if you have, you know, a sixth grade child talking about their history, whereas you have a senior in high school talking about their history, it's going to be the same.
Right.
So there's no copying, it's just repeating what is already understood.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to tell them, but you know what people are like. And
Well, when you challenge somebody's doctrine and somebody's, you know, core belief system, there's going to be two reactions. Either you're going to have someone revert back to a primate and screeching and flinging poo, or you're actually going to have someone who has intellectual conversation and wants to know more.
yeah,
And those are the ones we are trying to reach.
good, good. And you're the pterosaurians, and can you just tell us how many there is in on Earth in numbers? Is there millions of yous?
We're pretty high up on that scale.
You don't want to tell us exactly.
I can tell you it's not as much as the human population,
Right.
but I can tell you that hybrids represent 16% of the current population.
When you say the Alpha Draconians do not hydrolyze, what do you mean by that?
They, how can I akin this to? They're almost on the level of the Nazis with their blood is pure. They will not be tainted by other lesser beings.
Yeah. Right.
And have you ever wondered why, even through biblical times, it was important for people to keep track of whom they were breeding with? Even before people had a concept of DNA or genomes, but it was very, very important for those people to keep track of who and what their lineage was.
Are the Alpha Draconians on the planet at the minute?
No, they will not come here. However, they do work in tandem with the Greys.
Right. And when I asked you, you said the Earth is like a pantry to them. Is that true?
Yes.
So,
They're mainly interested in the hydrogen in our water,
yeah,
copper
yeah,
in the ground,
yeah.
and unfortunately, some of your DNA code.
So, would you say our leaders are mostly sort of like farmers, if you look at it that way?
Farmers, I would more say landlords.
Yeah, but are they not looking after the cattle?
Honestly, some of your leaders could care less what happens to the cattle, as
Right.
long as they get payment.
Can you tell us about the chameleons? Can you do they what do they look like in the natural form and compared to can you spot a chameleon?
Well, one chameleon that was spotted and is quite famous is your George and the Dragon.
Right. Can you tell us about him?
The Well, let's see. And please correct me if I recite this wrong. But this chameleon, known as the dragon, in your not so recent past, was in an area of a village. And it would take small animals, pets, livestock, children, and do with what it would. It would just consume. Well, to avoid this situation, the farmers and the locals would bring 2 sheep a day to a outside location where they could possibly keep it at bay. Well, it worked for a little while. However, when the sheep ran out, people began bringing out their children. And I can't understand why you would sacrifice your offspring. That is your legacy.
Well, why didn't they just attack the creature?
Fear.
I suppose I can understand that. Because was there a lot of myth around them days as there was magic and stuff like that?
Yes. Well, back in that time, you can also see it in the Americas as well. A lot of farming communities had 8, 10, 12 children,
Yes.
and the mortality rate was quite low, or excuse me, quite high.
Yeah.
I digress. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Life expectancy was low, but it was under the understanding of, oh, we can just have another one.
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
That's the best summary I could come up with, because anything else would just not make sense in the least.
No. Wow. That's crazy. So the Nagas, how are they different?
Well, the Nagas appear to be humanoid from the torso up. They are
Right.
also winged. They have 2 wings instead of 4 like the Alpha Draconians.
Right. So they can fly.
But,
They can.
actually, it's not necessarily a flight. It is more like a mantle or a coverage.
Right. So for protection.
Yes.
Right. Oh. And can you tell us about Trudon, the Greek?
Oh, Trudon, wounding tooth.
Yeah, Wounding Tooth.
Trudon was our common ancient ancestor. Just as you have, you know, Africensis australopithecine, I do believe.
I'll take your word for it.
But Trudon actually had the largest brain capacity of all the species on the planet at that time. He had 3 toes and 3 fingers. He was also carnivorous. You know, due to this hyperintelligence, he was able to evolve and change over time and learn. You know, the tail disappeared because we no longer needed that for balance. I mean, even though he was bipedal, just as, anything is nowadays, but, let's look at kangaroos, for example. They are also bipedal, but sometimes they will go on all fours
Right.
to forage, whatnot. Trudon was no different.
Right. And can you tell us about Pazuzu?
Pazuzu was one of the first Alpha Draconians that came to the area known as Samaria.
So he's the guy on the tablet depicted with the wings,
Yes.
with the device on his wrist,
Yes.
which we know is now is a portal device.
Actually, it's a temporal shift.
What's
I've
what?
too much. No, it's fine. A temporal shift just allows one to attune their physical body to a frequency vibration to where they can pass through solid matter.
Right. Okay. So it can turn into a ghost, really.
Pretty layman's terms, yes.
Is that where ghosts come from?
No, I would say the way you accept ghosts, the way you put it, is simply interaction with the post-plasma layer.
Yeah. So you're saying there is such things as spirits?
It's actually energy. Like existence is duality.
Yeah.
In this, in the sphere of influence, you and I, the chair you're sitting in, are all on the physical layer. Existence is duality. So on the post-plasma layer, you also exist. However, you exist as pure energy. When your physical body is destroyed, your post-plasma self still exists for some time, although there is no consciousness. There is a physical manifestation of yourself.
So like a light bulb going out and that little dim light staying on for a while.
Yes.
Right, I get you. And can you tell us about the parasitic? Is it possible for the Alpha Draconians to take over a human body?
Yes. The parasitic organisms. This would be, can be given aerial or by direct contact. It's a parasitic symbiotic organism, and I know that's a catch-22 there because parasite and symbiotes are two opposite things as we understand them.
Okay.
But if I were an Alpha Draconian and to give you this parasite, it would live within you in your cellular level, into your hippocampus. There, I can pull information that is not privy to it being given in a normal way.
So
I can also upload information to say, okay, Andy, I need this, this, and this from the store. You're going to go get it and bring it to me.
so is that how they control the world leaders?
Some, yes, unfortunately.
Right. And is there any way to remove the once it's in your body? Is there any way to remove it?
Once the physical body dies, the parasite also dies.
Right.
If the symbiote is removed, then it can actually cause lasting neurological damage to its host.
Right. Wow. And can they do the same to you?
Unfortunately, yes.
Right. Can you tell us about the threat, the Alpha Draconians? Is there any way we can fight them, or are we? Is that it? Are we too weak?
There are some species that hominids, yes, are, I'm not going to say inferior to, but in lack of a better term, that would be the case. You know, the only defense we have is through other species, which maintain a peaceful, neutral ground on this planet.
And can you tell us who they are, please?
Your Nordics, your Pleiadians.
And are they 8 foot tall, like they say?
Um, that would be saying that every basketball player is 8 foot tall.
Right,
They do come in all sizes, but they are more along the lines of being taller than normal.
right. Have you ever met with any of these other races?
I personally have not. However, I've had shared information of them. The Pleiadians,
Are they the Nordics or are they a different race?
they are a different race.
Right. But are they humanoids?
Yes, they are humanoid,
Right, right,
meaning they do not have the scales, nor do they have the eyes. They have bright cerulean blue eyes, and they're often lacking a lot of pigment. But going back to when I said it was a different race, those are the Agarians.
right. Who are they, sorry?
Huh? Those are your Nordics.
Right, Agarians, right, okay.
Then you have the Elves, ELS, Elves.
Right, elves, right.
They're one of the older races. The
And what,
Anakim or Elohim.
yes.
Uh, Bible, they were referred to as Titans.
You say the Alpha Draconians, they're in a correlation with the Greys, is that true?
Yes, the Greys are actually working with several world governments and exchanging technology for raw materials.
Can you tell us a bit about Harp?
Um, that's actually a technology that came through the Greys into our society. This was to help alleviate, drought-stricken areas, to bring rain into crops and to, revitalize areas that were rendered inhabitable. However, through the misguided wisdom of the Greys, it was also employed as a military tactic by causing floods, earthquakes, and tsunamis. You know, these disasters are foretold because power corrupts absolutely.
So, was this anything to do with the deluge, the Harp?
Kind of.
Because I remember you saying it wasn't a comet that caused the cataclysm that wiped everything off Earth. Well, not everything, but wiped a lot of things off Earth. It was an actual explosion, wasn't it?
Yes. And in combination with the hydrogen in the water,
Yeah.
the area of effect was amplified exponentially.
So that caused the flood, though, that
Yes.
explosion. Right, right. So that had nothing to do with Harp.
No.
Right, okay. And can you tell us a bit about a bit of a touchy subject, the Queen of England? Is she anything?
Do you really want to know the answer to that question? Do you really want to know how many answers to that question there are? Okay. She is the figurehead of your government.
Yes,
She is quite beloved,
she is.
and she's very long lived.
That's true.
I will let you decide what she is from that information.
What about Putin?
About what?
Putin, Russia.
Oh, Putin? Oh. Oh, he has access to certain technologies as well.
But is he human?
Far from it.
No. I would have guaranteed he was human. See, he's fighting against all this, it seems.
No, he is actually looking to maintain our place as it is, just
Right.
as I am.
Right. What do you mean by that?
Well, look at his physique for a man his age. Look at his cognitive abilities. Yep.
Yeah.
He is no full hominid, I can tell you.
Right. Also, I've done a lot of research into Alexander the Great. Can you tell us a bit about him? Did he actually, was he one of your enemies?
No.
Because there's a story in the Quran and it tells about sealed an entrance to their underground realm, and he melted copper and iron and everything and sealed the gates or something. Have you ever heard of that story?
Yes, actually.
Is that a secret?
No, it's not.
But it's being kept.
He
It's being kept from us, isn't it?
Well, it's not being kept. It's out there. It's just a matter of you reading about it or
Yeah.
learning about it.
So can you tell us about that? Was that a big thing to get rid of them out of the Middle East? Was it taking over there or something? What was?
Well, Alexander did a lot of good and unknowingly some bad.
Right.
However, his ambitions were not for himself, but for the benefit of his own people.
But why
It's
was he
true.
why was he depicted with two horns?
Okay, if I were to come into your house and say, this is now my property, this is now my home, either join me or die, would you not depict me with horns? I believe he was depicted as a shaitan from the Persian Empire.
Right.
It's like he even stated, how he took, you know, Scythian technology and adapted it to himself and his own army. He's quoted as saying, "My clothing is a Scythian cloak. My shoes are hard soles of my feet. My bed is the earth. My food is only seasoned by hunger, and I eat nothing but milk, cheese, and meat."
His mum was supposed to be a snake worshipper as well. Did you hear about that?
Is this a Saurian priestess?
His mum was.
Yes,
So she was a hybrid.
correct.
So that means he was.
He carried certain traits, yes,
So
but
that
as a on hybrid, no.
so he fought against his own people, really.
Well, he was of two peoples. He fought for, and some things were for one people and not another. Some benefited both,
Yeah.
but never once did it benefit none.
Obviously, everyone wants control, don't they? I mean, if no one wants to live under another race or another, you know what I'm saying. So I can understand you wanting to take control. That's understandable. I mean, it's like
It's not
any
as a
religion wants to take control.
um,
That's why you go to vote into it to get people in control.
it's more control over one's own base. Be the captain of your own ship.
So did Alexander the Great seal anyone into this? Can you tell us
He
about
did
that?
our entrances. Yes,
And was that at Mount Sinai?
Mount Sinai.
Sinai?
Yes,
Yes.
I mean it's things that I have to digest them and reword them in a way, one, that you will understand, and two, one that won't get me into trouble.
That's it. Okay. Yeah. Is there anything else you can tell us about who we can trust and who we can't trust?
Question everything. If you get the same answer over and over again from different sources, then you can hold that as truth. However, if there's varying answers from different sources, then you know that is obscured from your knowledge.
And also, I just want to just point out in your last interview, you said it was only full Saurians that could shapeshift.
Yes.
So I was trying to explain that to people. So you can't shapeshift, that's right.
No.
Right, yeah, I understand that, but people just couldn't understand that. So, but you say you have the eyes.
Yes.
So maybe next time we do a video interview, can we get that on picture, or would you not like that?
Well, it's not a controlled thing, just as you can't control your own pupils.
So if you had a torch and you close your eye, and then opened it, would it not count? Would it not act? The blinkers.
Well, if I close my eyes, my pupils would be fully dilated, and as I opened them, you would see it. You would have to use a certain frame rate, but the
Yeah.
people would come together in an ellipsis, elongate, and then flatten back out into a circle.
And would you be willing to do that?
I can try. I will attempt it for you.
Oh, thank you. And I'm not like making you out to be a freak show or anything, but if you're willing to do that, that's great.
Um, Honestly, I just wait for more questions.
Can you tell us before we go anything about crystals?
Well, a crystal in its purest form has the ability to hold more data than you can imagine. This
Right.
is uncorruptible data. You can utilize this and pass it down from one generation to the next without having to worry of, you know, the degrading of the code.
So maybe this is like a hard drive.
Uh, an immortal hard drive.
Yeah. So you're saying you could smash that piece of crystal up and it'd still hold the information?
Yes, because it's written on the actual crystal itself, not as in a crystal you can hold in your hand, but on that simple geometric, you know, fringe.
Yeah. Wow.
Each crystal that you can hold is comprised of trillions of those, just as they grow like a snowflake. Well, one thing I would like to leave you with is something you can study, and that'll bring a lot of questions with, I know, hopefully I can give a lot of answers to. But
Okay.
are you familiar with Martha's Vineyard near Montauk Point?
No, I've never heard that.
Okay, well, write that down. Just south of there is the Pimdar Village or Vineyards. Well, the wine is damn good.
Just one more thing before you leave, sorry. Would you class yourself part of the Illuminati?
Well, we do have an age of enlightenment. And as you know, the Illuminati has been vilified by pretty much every group out there. And it's because we wish to illuminate others, to pass on the torch of knowledge. Now, you can either take this knowledge and use it, or you can take that knowledge and turn it into a witch hunt. The choice is up to the individual.
Thank you very much, Mel.
Not a problem, Andy. It's a pleasure.
So I'll see you again on the 19th.
All right. How are you?
Great, thanks. Thanks for coming back.
No problem.
So can you tell us a bit about yourself for the new people?
Well, my name is Mel. Um, I'm on Facebook and YouTube as Reptilian Hybrid Housewife, and I'm just here to share knowledge. Reptilian Hybrid Housewife, and it's on YouTube, and I'm just now starting out.
So I'll just start with asking you about ley lines and Stonehenge. Do you know anything about them?
Oh, yes. Well, ley lines are rivers of energy, and they will meet at a certain point. And at these points, you'll often find many structures, architecture, monuments, things of that nature. As far as Stonehenge is concerned, there's 14 major ley lines that converge in the dead center of Stonehenge. It is a very powerful vortex. And there's 14 major ley lines that convene at Stonehenge, and if you could stand there in the center, I mean, multiple of your senses will be heightened. You would almost feel a, a low hum or a intense pressure there just because of all the convergence that's happening.
Do you pass information on through them?
No, it's more along the lines of making things easier. It's uh, more like the veins of the earth.
Can you transfer power from them? Can
You
it be?
can imbue things with power from them. Just like if I were to take, say, an arm ring or a pendant, and I could go to one of these nexus points, and with certain skill sets and certain abilities, I would be able to harness some of that river of energy and make that armor or pendant much more powerful. I mean, your monks have been doing it for eons.
And did the Druids build the Stonehenge?
Actually, yes, that is one thing that is correct. They wanted to be able to have a place of communion as well as a place of meeting and to share their energy with Terra. Okay.
So does did each community have their own stone circle? And so what would they do there?
They would pray for a harvest. They would ask for a blessing. There was numerous reasons to go there, almost like how people would go to a church today.
Right. And the Druids used to call themselves the Adder priests. Do you know any? And I also know that adders are the only snake that give birth to don't lay eggs. They give birth, don't they?
Yeah, the
So
adders. They,
yeah.
they
So
live birth.
was there anything to do with the Saurians, the Druids?
No, not really. That's just how their evolutionary tree split. They have, oviparous, and then you have, live birth.
Did they work with the Saurians? Because why would they call themselves the Adder priests?
That I would have to study more.
Yeah,
But honestly, I do believe so.
yeah, it's interesting. They called themselves the Adder priests, and then maybe they was working closely with the Saurians. Because how would they have got this knowledge of the ley lines? And
Well, I almost believe that it was something you could feel. Those currents are that powerful.
right,
They probably asked, why do I feel this way here? And the science was explained behind it.
right. Is it the same with the pyramids? I remember you saying the lowermost chambers. You could what did you say there was? There was an entrance to some sort of gate or
Jump gates.
jump gates. That was it. So maybe the Stonehenge, the same sort of thing.
No,
Right,
that would just be an amplifier.
right, okay. And also the Egypt. Do you remember that Egyptian pharaoh that was depicted with the elongated skull?
Yes,
Um, was he a Saurian?
he was a hybrid.
Right. Because you see a lot. I know his body shape. Like the obviously body shape was very unusual, as well as the skull, obviously. Um,
Oh, yeah.
but you see them in on Scythian statues, the same body shape. Is that what Saurians look like? The hybrids? Do you look more human as you go down the hybrid line?
Yes. Um, a pure saurian having offspring with a pure hominid would produce an elongated skull. We can still see some of this trait passed down, in modern people today. Um, as far as elongated skulls, you can find these from Egypt all the way to Peru.
Was it, a lot of the pharaohs was they hybrids?
They tried. However, due to their personal belief about keeping the royal bloodline, free and pure, they pretty much damaged their own genetic code and were just bereft with health issues. You have to have a new influx of DNA or you enter a genetic bottleneck.
Was there too much inbreeding
Yes.
just within the pharaohs, or was that anywhere there was civilization popping up, like Sumeria, the Mayans? Was they all controlled by Saurians, hybrids?
I wouldn't say control, but worked in tandem. Hmm?
Was this a plan by the Saurians to obviously mix with humans because they could never pass off, you know, they could never take over as looking like a reptilian. So did they mix with to try and influence, human civilization?
No, we tried to show that we were companions. We were there with them,
Yeah.
you know, and you can look in the Sumerian tablets, and it says, when the gods like men bore the work and suffered toil, the toil of the gods was great, and the work was heavy, and distress was much. And that was by Anu and Enki.
I have trouble with understanding
I
that
believe it was.
a human woman would find a Saurian attractive enough to, you know, uh, do you understand what I mean? Or was it done in a lab? Was it like DNA?
Well, it would have been a religious experience for the hominid. I can say that.
Maybe you do get a lot of women that would like to, you get a lot of women that would maybe give themselves to that.
They could, but at the same time, the shock of being with a pure saurian for an unknowledgeable hominid female would be traumatic.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So maybe it was done in a lab,
So
or maybe this is
they would
what is
take
this
casual.
what UFO when people are taken and they wake up with people looking over them? Could this be what that is?
Possibly, but my interpretation would be more along the lines of those people would have probably experienced a religious ritual. That's how they would have understood it.
Tribes of Israel that left. What happened there
Well, to my recollection, there was a great misunderstanding.
between the
The
Hebrews and the
they,
Saurians?
yes, the Mosaic doctrine did not mesh well with the way we were. And we tried to instruct them and say, look, it's okay to do this. It is, actually fine to do this. It's healthy to do this. But because of their doctrine, they viewed that as unclean or evil.
During the Black Plague in Britain, there was people seen with masks on and scythes. That's where death comes from in the myth.
Yes.
Now, there's people said like, obviously there weren't people scything fields when there was all this stuff going on, and they said there was like smoke coming from the scythes, which sounds to me like it was spread with like some sort of hose, for spreading disease. Was
Well,
that retaliation for what happened with George and the Dragon and everything like that?
not to my recollection. The smoke you were seeing would be the herbs stuffed down inside the mask that looked like a long bill. These were often ignited to smolder and to rid the caretaker of the bad vapors that were in the area. The scythe was not a bladed scythe as one would, cut a field with, but more of a crook that would allow the caregiver to remove the infected from a dwelling.
Have we always worked together, or has there ever been a time where we was at war?
Prior to the cataclysm you call the flood, that was an influx of people praying for salvation, again, using the Mosaic doctrine. Hence, he built the ark, Noah. The attempt was to rid the world of any hybrids. Hence, there were none allowed on the ark. However, there are places that we were able to go to preserve our lineage. It would be on the same concept of you destroying one anthill in a forest. There's still going to be more ants.
So where did they destroy? Where was this anything to do with the story in the Bible where it says kill them and the cattle and the animals?
Yes. Because again, the older species of cattle that were used to feed people were much bigger. And we assisted in this to, allow, less usage of the land, but still be able to give enough meat, enough, leather, enough product, just so we could sustain a population.
And that underground city in Turkey, was that belonging to the Saurians?
Are you talking about where the Spear of Destiny lies? That was one of the temples.
Really?
Yes.
So is the Spear of Destiny, is that a Saurian artifact?
Actually, no. That was a spear from Longus, who used to slay a hybrid. And the blood imbued that spear, just as much as we talked about ley lines earlier.
Right.
And I know you're going to get a lot of flack from that, but I would like to say one thing. John chapter 10, verse 16. It stated that Jesus had to leave this fold to speak to other people. Now, if the earth is a fold, don't you believe that he would be speaking to other intelligent life?
Yeah. What about the Holy Grail? Is that? Can you explain that? Do you know anything about that? Or is that just on about the Saurian bloodline?
The Holy Grail would be more along the lines of things that belong to someone who they revered. This could be as simple as a sandal or a robe. If kind of like if you had Michael Jackson's glove, it would be revered. Oh, you have the glove. Same concept.
Right. Yeah. So it's nothing like an actual cup or anything, or like.
Actually, it was a goblet.
Right. So it is a goblet. It's just who did it belong to? To Jesus.
Correct.
So that's why. Is Jesus a Saurian or a hybrid?
I personally believe he was a hybrid.
Right.
He carried the negative blood archetype. You know, it's one thing I really try to put towards people about the Gnostic Gospels as well. Anything that gave a woman power, she was either vilified as a virgin or a whore. Period. There was no in between. And, Mary Magdalene was no whore. She actually bore him a daughter. And that bloodline can be traced to the Basque region, where all people who carry the negative blood type originate today. That is the journey that Mary Magdalene took their daughter after Jesus was crucified.
Do you believe in giants?
Other attempts at hybridization with other species.
Which species?
There's a lot of answers to that question. The Anunnaki, the Elohim.
Right.
I mean, even Sumerians experimented with it. I mean, Enki is pictured with 4 wings, and we know that, that's not good.
That means he was an Alpha Draconian.
Yes, but because he was able to shift, he was still portrayed as a bearded man.
So in the tablets, the Alpha Draconians are shown as giving man technology, and like they don't seem to show anything where they was attacking us or anything like that. Can you explain why?
Simple. If you and I do not speak the same language and you don't have the same concept of, knowledge as I do, you come to my house, I hand you a a garden tiller and point and show you, and you plow my field. I pat you on the head and give you a food reward. You know, in the pre-Terra time, one of these heavenly bodies sheared off a portion of the earth. This coalesced and became the moon. The moon on the far side is a thicker crust than on the side that's facing us. You can actually see the dark pattern in the moon as the lava flows when it did coalesce, and that side is thinner.
So would you ever get the opportunity to go to one of the bases in outer space, or would you not get that opportunity?
Well, in the future, everybody will. However, there's some people that have no desire to be on a boat in the ocean. I'm one of those that have no desire to be, you know, torn from these earthly bonds that hold me here.
So obviously they have UFO technology, um,
Yes,
and is that what we see in the pictures and videos?
some.
Is that what Roswell was, or was that actually the Greys
That was the Greys being sloppy with their own work.
with their own work? What do you mean?
When they came to try to speak with, our governments, talk about trading things for technology, i.e., copper was one of the biggest things. You know, back in those times, and still till present day, it was, oh God, the space invaders are here. We have to kill them or show a means of force.
So,
And that's pretty much what happened. They weren't expecting such a violent reaction.
so there was no contact before 1960s or 1950s.
Well, with Saurians, yes. With Greys, they tried, but again, you can see this, in the Pueblo Indians. They talk about the Star People.
And are Saurians cold-blooded?
Um, we do have some cold-blooded traits. However, it's not as you would see a modern reptile today.
If they live in cities underground, how do they stay warm? Is it all thermonuclear like power?
Yes.
Right. What about lights? Because I know reptiles need a lot of light.
Well, that could be, UVB rays can be obtained by mixing certain chemicals. Well, it's a matter of energy and memory sharing. You can feel that yourself. If you ever walked up to someone, you were like, I know this person, or I have a connection with this person, and you've never even spoken a word to them. That's you receiving those shared images. They're projecting into you.
So if you was walking down the street and a hybrid walked past you, you could tell straight away.
I could, yes. You would just get a sense of deja vu, or I know him from somewhere, or I know her from somewhere.
And do you all meet, like all your hybrids in your local area? Do you meet and gather together? Is that like a
Usually on
a
the
strong
solstice.
community?
We usually meet on the solstice,
Right.
and it's a celebration because it's a place where we can share our thoughts, we can share our, knowledge, we can socialize. I was like, a lot of the summer concerts is a great place that we like to go. Hang on one second. I'm actually going to walk up to my offspring here and let them say something. What am I? Hang on a second. A lizard.
What about any secret tech? Can you tell us about anything like that? Anything that's going to come in the future that we don't know about yet?
Neural interface input. That is going to be phenomenal for you guys.
And what's that, please?
Well, instead of putting data in on a phone or a tablet and actually actively touching, this would be mentally, neurologically linked to where you can think, open this, search here, go there.
What, and they'll have to be implanted, will they?
No,
Just like suckers on your head, sort of thing.
no, 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 no.
So you won't even have to have anything attached to you,
No.
right? Wow.
The receiving device will be able to receive mental signals. They're electrical, so those will be able to interact with modern technology or, future technology.
Yeah. Right. And how long's that away?
For you, probably about 5 to 10 years.
And what about you?
Oh, what about me?
Yeah. Do you already have it?
I have seen it, and it's very, very interesting.
So can I ask where you seen it? Well, you don't have to tell us exactly the place, but did you? What was this like? A meeting you seen it at, or was you in one of the
Well,
DUMBs, underground bases?
we do go to a base regularly. We went this past weekend, as you well know,
Right.
and there you can share or actually visualize for yourself.
So there's a lot of future tech there you can see.
Oh, yes.
And did you speak about our interview?
No,
Right. Did none of them know about it?
no, they know that I'm speaking out now.
Right. Can we go into runes a bit? Because last time we spoke briefly
I
on
would love
runes.
to.
Can you tell us a bit about runes and was Thor a Saurian or a hybrid?
Oh, what's it for?
Yeah, the god Thor. Was he a
Oh,
Saurian
the
or
god
a
Paw.
hybrid?
I am not familiar with him. Well, I do know that they are incorporated into our technology as well.
Right. And is that the fourth arc? The alphabet, the fourth arc?
Yes.
Right. So, mm, it's very interesting. So there's ways to combine the runes to make powerful gates and stuff like that.
Yes.
Can you tell us
And when
what?
you're talking about,
Can you tell us what else they do?
well, they can heal, they can, preserve. They also can, assist in travel and protection.
And is that bind runes?
Yes.
And do you know who teaches that sort of thing?
Um, that is a little touchy because it can be either.
Is that classed as dark magic? Sort of secret?
Well, it's not really magic, it's just technology you haven't understood.
So, can you explain a bit how it works? Because I can't understand how. Is it something to do with scribing it into wood, or is it a way you put them together or join them together? I can't understand how it works. Is it
Well,
is
I can draw something on a piece of paper
yeah.
and it is absolutely worthless. I can carve something into stone and it'd be absolutely worthless. They have to be imbued.
So what does imbuing mean?
Uh, you could bring them to a ley line nexus point and charge them almost like a battery.
How long will that last?
beyond your time frame.
So that'll last for forever
Yes.
once the charge. But so at the minute I have runes, but they're useless because they've not been charged.
Or do you not know that they've been charged?
Well, I bought them offline. I haven't got. I don't know. In my teachings, it says to charge them, you put them in salt water overnight.
Well, that is a way to pull in energy.
Right.
However, you can use a dowsing rod and find a nexus point near you and imbue them yourself, which will be much more effective.
So how do you imbue? Is it imbue?
Imbue.
Imbue. How do you imbue them? When once you get to the lines, if I just hold them in that power, do I have to say anything? Do I have to do anything?
Concentrate your energy over the top and focus on pulling energy through your runes into your hands and reflecting that energy back in.
Is this also chi? Is that anything to do with that? That power?
Chi is harnessing the ley line energy into your own body. You can see this with martial artists.
Right. And that make you more powerful and strong?
Yes.
Right. So do you think this is where the top fighters and they don't tell people this, but they know this really?
Yes, the information is out there. It's just a matter of you getting it.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So does astral projection work?
Yes.
So you can actually astral project.
Yes.
Can you do
Through
that?
lucid as well.
Is it all about meditation?
Actually, it's more along the lines of learning your own vibration that will allow you to do so.
So is breathing very important? Because I notice obviously, have you noticed just before you start going to sleep, you start breathing in a very weird way, and then you suddenly go to sleep. Now, is there any other states you can reach by just breathing apart from sleep?
Yes, you can practice this yourself.
Can you tell people where to go for that, or can you teach people that?
Well, it's very simple. You have to picture yourself in a sublime state with no interactions, no fleeting thoughts of, oh, I have to pay bills this week or I've got to cook dinner. You have to be in a completely relaxed state. There, you focus on one pinpoint of light, and your brainwaves will automatically start to alter. You will enter a pre-REM status. You'll notice your breathing start to change, and there you can focus on what your goal is.
Does it take a lot of practice?
For long durations, yes. For short durations, not so much.
I do have a book on astral projection. I do have a few actually. I have tried it. I tried it with a candle, and I just couldn't do it. Or is it a state of mind you have to be in, or not? Is there something I'm doing wrong?
You have to push out absolutely every thought, every memory, just let them float past you. Don't focus on those, because the moment you stop and look or focus on that particular image, you're going to lose your train of thought.
So what do you want in your mind? Just blank, just black, empty space.
And focus on a pinpoint of light.
Right. Okay.
Not an actual light, but visualize it yourself.
So could you do this in the dark? And then
You can do this in the dark. You can do this in your living room.
right.
You just have to have no external, influence on you at the time. Oh, the bowl.
Yeah.
That helps you attune your vibration.
Right.
It'll help clear your mind.
Right. So can you tell us a bit about Tibetans? Because that's a very mysterious land.
Well, in Tibet, they were strongly influenced by Naga or Nagini,
Okay.
and this is where they learned that technology and that ability.
So is it true they can levitate things just with sound?
Absolutely.
Is this the same technology that was used to build the pyramids?
No, it was actually a copper flux that was used to do this. However, you can move things with sound. There's a reason you have a certain range of hearing.
Right,
To hear something like that would be absolutely deafening and could cause you great injury.
right.
That's why other technologies were developed. I mean, even now you can listen to some of our craft and hear a low humming, and people are like, "Oh, those must be the engines." No, that's the vibration of sound that occurs when the copper field is on the outside of the craft.
And also, they talk about the land of Shambhala. Can you tell us what that is, or what that refers to?
Shambhala was a place of peace and of knowledge. Here, one could go to become enlightened and learn from the ancient teachings.
Is that underground then?
Partially, but most is above, or was.
Have you ever heard of David Icke?
I've heard his name a few times, but I have not looked into him personally.
I mean, he talks about reptilians, but he doesn't mention saurians. I think he just brands them all into one to one thing. Can you tell us what you think about that? Like, what you think about people like he's just really negative about saurians or reptilians. He never mentions
Well,
anything good. Oh,
unfortunately, there are more negative, reptilian species than there are positive species.
right,
We only have two positive, which are the pterosaurian and the Nagini.
right,
You can look up the Bootians yourself and see, they're an offshoot of the Alpha Draconians who colonized their own, and they are pretty vicious themselves, and they have an inherent hatred for hominids.
yeah. In our previous interview, you mentioned that humans were slaves in a future war that we was created for that purpose. Can you explain about that, please?
Well, that was the Alpha Draconians and another hominid, or not hominid, a human-like species. They were at war, above Terra. Before it escalated into physical war, it was a Cold War state. The Elohim, which modified the mammalian ancestors to become humans, were going to be used for mining purposes, harvesting purposes, just for this species. This caused the Great Cataclysm, which is prior to the deluge.
Ah, right.
This was seen as an asteroid hitting the Earth.
I don't really like asking you this, Mel, but obviously I've got to ask you this. But why should we believe you?
I have no
How
reason
do we
to lie
know?
to you. I have no personal gains.
How do we know you're on our side? That's what I mean. Sorry.
Well, if I wasn't, would I be talking to you now? If you were my enemy, I would not pass on to knowledge information about technology, you know, how things came to be. It would be in my best interest to keep you ignorant. People don't ask questions, especially when they're getting rewarded.
Because we have the church telling us you're bad. We have people like David Icke telling us you're bad. Um,
Well, look into your Egyptian temples and see the carvings. those medical tools that are depicted, the scalpel, you know, everything is depicted on those walls. We still use those today.
There's even a picture of it looks like a reptilian saurian type being next to it looks like a big light bulb. Have you seen that one?
Yes,
So did you give us a light bulb? Is that what that is?
we attempted to.
What do you mean attempted?
However, tungsten was not a readily available material or knowledgeable enough to, recreate for your people at that time. Glass was easy. If lightning struck the desert, you had glass.
Can you tell us where there is an underground city of saurians in? You don't have to tell us exactly, but can you tell us maybe a famous one or a big one?
Montauk Point, uh, Fort Bragg, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Duluth, Minnesota. I mean, there's several.
What about LA? Because there's a lot of stories about underground cities in LA.
No,
Or was that an
surprisingly
abandoned
not.
one?
That is where, when the people founded Los Angeles, began to build cities. They ran out of room, so they started building on top, and so on and so on. You can actually go into your own past and see your you know pre-technological cities there. They're incorporated into the sewer systems.
How did we lose all this history? Was it
Fear, religious, and political dogma.
how they differ from human?